Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is a crate for a pretty much a video game. Now that's different. That's differences between making one for a, say, something like a mobile device, like for a phone. It would be pretty much just a cube, and it's going to have some textures applied to it. But if you want to go ahead and make it more complex than that, something for a maybe like a first-person perspective game, then we'll go ahead and do some more extrusions to that box, to the initial box. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the initial object. So first make sure you have the subtool menu set to polygons. Now go to create polygon primitives. I prefer not to have interactive creation enabled. And let's go ahead and create a cube. Now if yours is really tiny like mine, I'll just press R and scale that up. Go to press 5 so I can see the shaded. So for a video game like a mobile device, something like this would actually be the final product, and you would just apply some textures to it. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to make it a bit more complicated than that. Let's go ahead and start. Going to hold down right click, select face. Going to double click this face. This way the whole object is selected. And now I'm going to switch back. Go to edit mesh. Disable the first option here that says keep faces together. And now click where it says extrude. Once you do that, you're going to get this manipulated, and click on any of the squares that you see here, like this one, and now another one's going to pop in the middle, and we can use that one to scale out or scale in this case, and you see how it does it for all the different faces. Okay, so now what you can do is you can go back to edit mesh and extrude one more time, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to press G to repeat my last command. At this point we're doing another extrusion. This time I'm using the handle, the arrow, instead of the square. Okay. Alright. So we go to object mode this time, and as we can see, this is what we have so far. So now we have to start thinking about the texture and what textures we're going to use. You can either hand paint the textures, or you can find textures online. Make sure they're free source images, or you're not going to use them for any type of making any money from them. So I'm going to open Photoshop now. I'm going to open the image that I'm going to use for this tutorial here. Okay, I'm going to select that one. I'm going to open it. So as you can see, this is a square image. So if you go to image size, you can see the size of the image that you are using. In this case, is a square image. It's a 1024 by 1024. Again, if this is for a mobile device, it will probably be like a really low resolution image, like a 512 by 512. Probably even down to 256. So I'll probably set it to 512 and say OK. Alright, so this is the image that I'm going to use as my diffuse map, or as a texture or color map. Let's go ahead and go to File, Save As, and I'm going to call this my Create Diffuse. And I'm also going to save it as a Targa file instead of a JPEG. Okay, let's save it. Now let's go back to Maya, and now I'm going to hold down right click, go to assign new material, and I'm going to pick something. I'm going to pick a Fong material. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to name it Create Matte. Okay, and now where it says color, I'm going to click on the checker box here. I'm going to select file because my type of file is a file type. If you're saving as a Photoshop file, you will have to select Photoshop here, but in this case mine is a file. Once you do that, you're going to get this new window here, and we click on the folder and get that file. In this case is my Create Diffuse. Open, and as you can see, you even get a thumbnail here that shows you that the texture has been applied to the object. But as you can see, we don't see that yet on the object, so first we have to, you can either click on this icon right here, which says texture, or you can also press 6. And as you can see, now we can actually see the texture on the object. Notice that the texture does not match what it should look like on the object. At this point it looks really bad, but we're going to fix that in a moment. So now what we can do is we can go to Edit UVs, and we can open what is called the UV Texture Editor. As you can see, it's really empty right now. It has nothing. But if we select the object, we can actually see something here. Not only that, but we can actually see the texture that we applied to the object. Notice how mine is highlighted in blue. If yours is a wireframe, you can click right here, so you can see it blue. And if you want the image to be darker so that it doesn't interfere with what you see, you can click right here, and it makes it easier to see. Alright, so now let's go ahead and fix the situation here that we have. So what I'm going to do is minimize that window, and I'm going to select one face, hold down right click, go to face, click on that face so that you only have one face selected, and I'm going to press Shift dot. That increases my selection. I can also do this if I select that face, and if I go to select and I go to grow selection, and it's doing the same thing, and if I press G, it continues to grow the selection. Alright, so now we're going to go to Create UVs, and under Plane Mapping, click on the Options box. I'm going to reset my settings so that you can see what I change. Alright, so first I'm going to set it to Best Plane, and I'm going to make sure that Keep Image Width and Ratio is enabled. I'm going to set Project. Alright, so as you can see, that alone fixed the issue that we were having, and it pretty much looks almost exactly that way we wanted it to be. And again, to do the same with the others, we can do the same with the other all the sides. So if we do this, select this face, grow my selection, Shift dot, and now instead of going to the menu, I can just press G, and it's going to redo that same step. Notice that as you can see, for this side it's actually flipped. This side is actually flipped, so as you can see, the panels are going that way. For this one, the panels are going down. So if you want to fix that, you can select one face to grow the selection, open my UV window here, and I can click on one of these rotate thumbnails here. So as you can see, it actually starts to rotate it in the viewport, and it fixes the situation that we were having there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same for all the sides. And the bottom as well. Alright, so once you have all the areas that you were all the UV areas fixed, as you can see, it actually looks like a fairly decent look for a crate. Pretty much, if this is like a third-person kind of game, you can see it from far away, maybe this view. This is pretty much works completely fine for something like that. Notice that if you want the panel, this panel right here, to pop out more than it actually does for this one. You can actually extrude that out, or you can create a new object like a cube, rectangle, and just place it along that area. And actually, let's go ahead and do something like that. First, I'm going to select the object. I'm going to press W to move, and now I'm going to press Ctrl D. I'm going to use my blue arrow and move that out. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this object just to extrude that little part, and I'm going to use that part and place it on the original that I was using. I'm going to close this right here for a second. Alright, so I'm going to edit mesh. I'm going to enable my keep faces together just to avoid any type of future problems, and I'm going to go with this split polygon tool, also known as the interactive split tool. And what I do is I can click on one edge, click and hold, don't let go, and I'm going, and as you can see, there's a vertex there, and I'll place it right there. Click one more time, and I'll drag all the way to that point, and press enter. Going to press G now, or you can go back and go to the split polygon tool. It's the same thing. Click and hold on the edge so you can see that vertex and drag it to that point. And now on the other edge and drag it all the way to that point. Press enter. Alright. And now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to press G and drag all the way to that point. Make sure it's all the way there so it snaps. And now I'm going to finish that on this edge right there. And then this one. Press enter. Press G. Do the same process for this one. Right there. Let go. And now I can come and end it right here. Press enter. Alright, so now we have that. Now I'm going to face mode and select that face. And I can go to edit mesh extrude and use the blue handle to move that out. Alright. So now as you can see, that actually pops out of the object, giving it more realism instead of just being painted there. So now I'm going to select this face, that one, the one next to it, this one. Hold down Ctrl so that you can actually select more, or Shift as well. That one. Alright. I want to make sure I don't have anything else selected, so I'm going to hold down Ctrl and drag to deselect anything that might be selected. Alright, so now I'm going to mesh. I'm going to use the extract tool here. Alright, I'm just going to press Q to exit and go to object mode. Now I can click on that area. It's actually separate from the rest of the object. And now if I press W, I can actually move this out and put it here. And we pretty much don't even need this object anymore, so we can actually just delete it. Alright. So now we have this object, make sure it snaps really well there. I'm going to click right here so that I can isolate it. I'll press 5 just so I can go back and the texture doesn't bother me. And I'm going to combine some edges because as you can see, we have an N-gun or a more than 4 sides face right here, which is this one. So I'm going to hold down right click and go to vertex, select that vertex, and now Shift, select that vertex. And now if we can go to edit mesh, connect component, we can actually connect that and we can fix the issue there for the N-gun that we had. We can do the same thing with this one. I'm going to press G. Alright. Click there, so we go back to the whole object. Now we can pretty much duplicate that piece. So if I go to Ctrl D, now I'm going to press E, and I'm going to rotate it. And in this case, it'll probably be like negative 90 degrees. Press enter. Alright. I'm going to press Ctrl D one more time and rotate it. And in this case, it will be negative 180. And finally, we can do the last one. Ctrl D and rotate it. Let's see. Negative 270. Let's do it fine. I'm going to press 6 again so I can see the texture. Alright. So something else that you may have noticed is that if we zoom into the object, the texture actually kind of messes up for areas like right here. We can also see that right there. So that's something that we will probably have to fix at some point. And I should probably have fixed that before I duplicated this object. That was a terrible idea from my part. So we can fix that if we go to the UV texture editor. And if I go to edge mode this time, click on that edge. Now right here, as you can see, it actually selects the edge just like I did on the viewport. So I'm going to hold down Ctrl, now right click, and choose where it says go to UV. Alright, and now I'm going to press W so that you can see the manipulator here, and you can actually move that out. As you can see, there's a separate area there, so this way we can start to fix that problem there. And I'll just bring it in right like this. You can do the same with this one. Go to UV. Alright, and notice that it's purple this time. That means there's overlapping, but in an object like this, that's actually not a problem. That's pretty fine. That's fine. So as you can see, that fixes that area. Now I can probably go ahead and duplicate this back just so that I don't have to redo the same process with everything else. Alright, so to fix the one from this side, we'll have to do something very similar to it. So if I go to face mode this time, select that face, then go to grow deselection again, shift that, and this time I'm going to hold down Ctrl, right click, and I'm going to edges, and this time it selected the edges. Let's now open the UV editor, go to polygons, and cut UV edges. And I should probably do the same with all the faces just so that I don't have to waste time later. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to grow the selection, and I'm going to hold down Control and go to Edge. So all those edges are actually selected. Open the UV window and go to Polygons, cut UV edges. Alright, so now I can select this face, that face, that face. So if you have all the faces selected, I can go to UV. I'm going to press R to scale that down just a little bit, not much. The reason I'm doing this is just so that I can select the edges easier. So now I'm going to edge, select that edge right there. Control, go to UV. As you can see, are the ones from the top. And since I move those faces, I can actually see that these share the same edge. So I have to deselect the ones from the face. So go to UV and hold down Control and drag so that you can deselect it. I'm going to press W now. As you can see, there's that extra piece there. And that's pretty much how you fix that. And you're going to do the exact same thing for all those sides. It's a little time consuming, but it's well worth it. So I'm not going to waste too much time doing that in the video. So I hope that you get the idea of how to fix that. Alright. So once, let's say, we already did the whole thing, everything, we fixed it. We should also have this piece on the top. So let's say we're done. We're going to select everything. I'm going to mesh and combine. Right, so now we have one object. So what if you wanted to have more detail as far as you know, some of the make the wood actually look like there's actually texture there? We can do that using Photoshop. So we can go to Photoshop. So now if we open the image, the first thing we have to do is I'm going to use an adjustment layer. Actually, I'm not going to use one. I'm just going to use the shortcut. It's Ctrl Shift U to go to desaturate the image, so make it a gray image. And to create a normal map, using an image, there's a filter for it. It's the NVIDIA tools normal map filter. This doesn't come with Photoshop, so you'll have to download it and follow the process. I'll give you the link in the description to the official site, and it has the instructions as to how to, you know, install the filter. So once you have that, I'll set this to filter type of 4. I'm going to set the scale to 2, and I'm going to set it to invert Y, and my conversion type here is going to be max RGB, and everything else is going to be pretty much the way you see it here. And I'm going to press OK, and as you can see, this gave me a normal map, which this is how normal maps look like. I want it to be a little more strong, so I'm going to duplicate this layer. Hold down, right click, and duplicate layer. Say OK. I'm going to set it to overlay, and as you can see, now it's a stronger normal map. And the final thing I have to do is layer and flatten image and save it. Save it as my normal and save it as a copy. Save. Okay. So now let's go back to Maya. Go to open my attribute editor, and I need to go to my material. First I'm going to go ahead and edit, delete by type, history, and now everything disappears from here, and I can just quickly get to my material. And now we're going to apply a normal map. So it's going to be on the bump mapping. Click right here, go to file, and I'm going to set it to a space normal, tangent space normal. Click on the arrow and load the normal map. As you can see, the thumbnail shows that it's actually working fine, but of course it doesn't display on the viewport. So if you want to see it here, just click right here for high res, or you can go to viewport 2.0, click right here. As you can see, we can start to see the difference between having a normal map and not having one. So we can start to see there's actually some bump. Also, you can see that mine is really shiny. That's because I'm using a foam material. But if you want to control the shininess of the object, if you go to Photoshop, go to undo, Ctrl Alt C, all the way to my gray image. Now I'm going to press Ctrl L. I'm going to use the levels here. Let's say this is going to be our what is called a specular map, and it controls the areas that are shiny. As you can see in the image, the areas that are black or dark going to be less shiny than the areas that are white. So we can go ahead and save this, save as, and call it a specular map. Save it as a copy, save it. So now we can go back to Photoshop, Maya, and to apply the specular map, scroll down to the specular shading area, and under specular color, click right there, file, and import the specular map. And as you can see, it's a lot different than what it was a second ago. So now you can see there's more, the shininess only pertains to the area that I had. It's according to the specular map that I applied to it. And for it to work better, you can also play with the cosine power here. So as you can see, if I drag that down, I can see the specular better on the object. Alright. So now if we... So it's pretty much how you make a really simple one, really. And, they don't get too complex. And again, it all depends on what type of game or film or whatever you're doing. So now, let's say you just want to have like a for presentation purposes, you just want to have a render for it. So you can go to click right here, so you can render. And you can switch from the Maya software to Mental Ray. It's probably a good idea. First we're going to change the resolution. It's actually also a good idea to add a light. So we can go to create light. And again, this is just for presentation purposes. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to press R to scale because I can't see it. E to rotate it. And if you want to see the lighting, you can click right here. And actually I'm going to disable high quality so I can see the lighting. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it and move this one and rotate this one the other way. Go to the attribute editor, and for this one I'm going to reduce the intensity. And click on the color, right, and the original light. It's going to have like a yellow cast to it. And let's enable shadows. Click on the shadows, click to change the color, make it lighter. And use ray trace shadows, set the angle to something low, and the shadow rays to the max. Let me save my scene here. I haven't saved it. Okay, and I'm going to create a plane for it. To create a plane, press R to scale that. I'm going to click right here. Set this to 1. I'm just going to move that down. Okay. Also, I'm going to change the background color. So as you can see here is black. I'm going to change that to... I'm going to click right here on the camera attribute. And if I scroll down to environment, and I can change the background color. Okay, good. Now if I select the plane, hold down right click, assign new material, and I'm going to set this one to use background, so it's going to use the background color. Going to reduce the specular to 0, reduce the reflectivity, no reflections, and the shadow mask just a little bit, right? So now let's go ahead and render to see what it looks like. Okay. Now if you want to change the settings for rendering, you can do that here. You can change the size of the image. You can set it to HD. So if you click on the quality, you can change it from draft to something like production. And you can close it and do a final render. And if you want to be able to see the frame, you can click right here. So you can see the framing of the object. And now you can go ahead and render. And it looks decent. You can play with the lighting, of course, to make it look more look better, I guess. But yeah, this is how you would make a really simple crate, create a normal map and the specular map as well. Alright, so once you're done, if you want to save the image, you can go to File, Save Image, and just save it. And if you saved your image as a Targa file, and when you open it in Photoshop, if you go to the channels box, it has an alpha that you can use to isolate the object from the background. Alright,